Hey everyone, I'm back. Not gonna lie, I do not want to be here right now doing this. I don't want to be recording. I don't want to think about a podcast. I don't even really want to do much of anything really. Work, house stuff, talking to people, eating. I don't even want to watch TV. This episode is about grief. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Ayana Explains It All, the podcast hosted by the Black Muslim lady lawyer, single mother, raised in the hood, living in the suburbs. Ayana Explains It All is available on 12 different streaming platforms, wherever you listen to podcasts, including YouTube. And hopefully you like what I have to say. And if you don't, there's nothing you can do but turn it off. Please don't turn it off, please. I know I sound really flat. I have no enthusiasm, no nothing right now. If I cry during this episode, just roll with it because that is where my brain is right now. It's very tired, it's stressed, it's grieving. There are a lot of things going on, but I have to continue. I have to get up and I have to continue to do the things that I do because no one else is going to do them. If you're the only one who does everything, no one else is going to do them. And if you don't do them and they don't get done, well, then they fail. And I don't want any of my things to fail. My career, time with my kids, my health. I had to clear the snow today out of the driveway. I obviously want to be able to get in and out of the driveway. So there's no one else who's going to do that. Over the past week, I want to say it's been 8, 9, 10 days. I don't even know. I've been dealing with something really terrible. You know what's funny is that I have been through this before. I have been through this before more than once, more than twice. But that doesn't mean that it gets easier. You could lose 3 jobs, have 3 grandparents die, have 3 cats die, have 3 dogs die, have 2 kids die, and another one dies. It may as well be like it never happened before because it hurts. It still hurts. It hurts. It hurts a lot. Well, the one thing about pain is that your body is wired to feel it. Your brain, your joints, your muscles, you're wired to feel it. But you're also wired to forget it so that you can get up and get out there and continue to do the things, including the things that may have hurt you, like with childbirth. Women forget almost immediately. They don't forget what happened, but they forget the pain that they went through, that they experienced, the labor pains, the after pains, the the breast pain and the uterine pain and all of that. We forget about that. And that's why we want to have more kids because we don't remember. We don't remember what that pain was like because we don't have to live with that pain every day. At some point, it fades away. I mean, I had 2 C-sections. One was an emergency C-section after laboring for over 24 hours, and that was pain. You would think that after all of that, I would not have wanted to ever have another baby, but I did. Now I have 2, but you forget what it was like, what you had to go through, and those births, at least the first one was traumatic, it was terrible, it was it's not something that I tell a lot of people about because it's it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And my story is something that I don't share every single detail with people because a lot of it doesn't make sense. You would look at me and you would think, "Oh, she's a lawyer. She graduated from Notre Dame. She has a career. She has a lot going for her. She has a house in the suburbs." That I've got some things going for me. But I've also had a pretty effed up life. My childhood was fraught with abuse, emotionally unavailable parents, witnessing a lot of substance abuse, a lot of physical abuse, and a lot of emotional abuse and verbal abuse, sexual abuse. I was a victim of sexual abuse. I've talked about that before. So I know pain. I know pain. I know hardship. I know setbacks. I know disappointments. I know all of that because I've been dealing with it for so long. And I've been having to pick myself up and put myself back together time after time after time after time. But it does not get any easier the 10th time, the 13th time, the 15th, the 30th, the 40th. It just does not get easier. People, some people rather, can just pick up and go on and act like nothing happened. Everything is okay. I am not one of those people. I I show my emotions. I show my pain. I show my scars. I will air myself out. I will air myself out. One of my friends said that a person who could she appreciates a person who can show their scars and their stars. And that is exactly what I do. It's not because I think what I go through or what I've experienced can help someone. It's because I need people to know that I'm real. I need people to hear me, to see me, and nobody's going to do that if I'm not real with everyone. People aren't going to see me and hear me and understand me unless I show fully that I am a complete human, imperfect, not impervious to pain, not totally together. I'm not. I'm not. I was never going to be. From my earliest memory of at age 4 being abused, I'm 44 now. I was never going to have a normal, stable life. It was just never going to be mine. And I don't think I realized that until I was in my 40s. I didn't realize that life was going to be painful. And instead of trying to avoid it and escape it and pretend like these things shouldn't happen to me, I should have been dealing with it. I should have been accepting it. Some things were beyond my control, really. When you're a child, some things are beyond your control. Things that happen to you are beyond your control. But I should have been dealing with it so that I could get to the good parts of life, the happiness, the happy parts of life, the joyful parts, instead of acting like, wow, why is this happening to me? I deserve better. I deserve a wonderful life. No. I mean, we all earn good things, yes. But life is pain, constant work, and uncertainty. And we spend more time as humans trying to control things because of the uncertainty, taking a break from the work because it is hard a lot, and doing nothing, as in not engaging with people and places and things to avoid pain. And it's foolishness. It's foolish to deny yourself something because maybe it might disappoint you. Maybe it might be the reason why you cry. You might miss it. You might lose it in 4 years. You might lose it in 2 years. So you just never, like, I've spoken in previous episodes about the keys to healthy relationships, and I explain why Muslims don't celebrate Valentine's Day, and I vaguely hinted at my own romantic life. I have done that a few times in a few episodes. I vaguely hinted at my own romantic life. I am right now in the end of a romantic relationship. It was a long one. In fact, it's the longest relationship I've ever had, and it ended in a way that was unexpected. It was traumatic. It was painful. It's still painful. I still feel it. I'm still reeling from it. I'm still not well. I'm not well because of the way it happened. Breaking up with someone is one thing. I know how to break up. I know how to do it. I've done it. When I'm finished, when I don't see this going anywhere, when it's not serving me, I walk away. That's just it. I don't, cheat. I don't cuss people out. I just leave. I leave when I'm done or when I see that we're both done. I go. But the way this ended is it's really terrible. I was lied to, I was deceived, I was tricked, I was conned, I was treated very negatively, very poorly, and that is perhaps what is contributing to me feeling as awful as I do because here I am thinking, "Well, I'm a lawyer. I live in the suburbs. I have a career. I'm doing very well for myself. I'm a good Muslim. Good Muslim. This shouldn't be happening to me. I'm 44. Why is this still happening to me?" And the answer I got from a few people is that because I tried. I tried. See, Ayana, if you just hadn't put yourself out there, if you hadn't even bothered, this wouldn't be happening. Would you say that to someone whose child just passed away or who lost a favorite pet or who lost a job? Well, if you just hadn't gotten the job, then none of this would be happening. If you hadn't had a child, then, your child wouldn't have died. You don't say that. But when somebody puts themselves out there and they're in a relationship and they're in love and it ends, you break up, l- people will give you some really good thoughts and they'll give you some really good advice, and then there are those people who are just like, "See, this is why I don't I don't do that. I don't date. I don't want to get married. I don't want to be engaged. I don't want to fall in love, nothing. I don't want to have to deal with that." But these same people have to deal with other things. They have to deal with turmoil just all on their own, themselves. And they have to deal with turmoil in their jobs. They have to deal with it with their children. They have to deal with it in their community. So they're not escaping anything. It's just that love and relationships is the one area where people are so negative and so awful. That's people in relationships, people who are not in relationships. We're not supposed to want to be with someone. We're supposed to be happy just to be on our own. We're supposed to be happy just having no one. I mean, I guess I could be happy having no one, having no kids, having no house, having no car, having no job. Sure, I could be happy with nothing. No, I would never be happy with nothing. I wouldn't be happy with nothing. But you're supposed to want to be happy to not have a companion or a partner. You're supposed to be okay with that. And if that works for you, fine. It does not work for me. I want a partner. I want a companion. I don't want to grow old alone. And I don't have any problem saying that to people. And people feel however they want to feel about it. I do not care. This is me. This is my life. This is what I want. Unfortunately, Ayana is attracted to narcissists. And there are a lot of narcissists out there, men, women, maybe even some kids, but they're everywhere. And they are sometimes covert narcissists, and you can't really tell until you uncover it what they're doing. But this is what I've been dealing with my entire life. And So yeah, that I am dealing with that, and I feel really defeated, and I feel embarrassed, and I feel humiliated, and I just feel a tremendous sadness because when you lose someone, however you lose them, it's you literally you have to you have to reprogram your life to be without them. You have to reprogram your brain to a new schedule that does not include them because you can't talk to them, you can't see them anymore. You can't confide in them anymore. You can't spend time with them anymore. You see something funny, some meme or some joke or something, you can't send it to them. You can't laugh with them. You can't go out with them. You can't be friends with them. You lose a lot when you lose a person. On top of that, also, it's Sunday and I'm working all day. My granny, she was in her 80s and she had been sick for a while. And so it was expected that she wouldn't have long to live. Back maybe in, I would say, October, November. Um, Made my peace with her dying a few months ago. When you first get that inkling that the person doesn't have long to live, you start to process they're leaving, they're dying, they're ending. I'm not the kind of person who thinks, wow, no, they're going to get over it. They're going to be okay. I don't delude myself. I don't. Even when it comes to relationships, I don't delude myself. I know what can happen. I know things end. I know things happen. I know that people die. I know that people move on. I know this, so I don't delude myself. I don't ever get comfortable either. You know how you get comfortable in a routine with people and places and things like in your job, and then the next day you go into work and you want to unlock the door and use your email and all of it's locked. You're locked out. You don't have a job anymore. I've been there too. I've been there too. I've been a lot of places you would never guess. I've been on the receiving end of a lot of shit. Um, my father passed away in 2016, and I really wasn't allowed to mourn him because we were, I guess you could say we were estranged. I mean, we didn't talk, but he was my father. He wasn't the best father at all. But growing up, I was never allowed to have a good opinion of him because everything I heard about him from my mother and my other family was negative. It was all negative. It was just a bunch of negative stuff. And I visited him many times so I could kind of see. I saw what they saw. But so when he died, my family wasn't sad and I wasn't allowed to be sad because I had to think about how my mother would feel about me being sad that my father, whom she hated, would feel. I have spent a lot of my time in my life trying to fit myself in to make space, to make more space for other people. You know, I have spent a lot of time in my life accommodating others and and not really feeling my pain and feeling the things that I want to feel and grieving how I want to grieve and loving how I want to love. I've always had to live according to other people's rules. I allowed it to happen because I didn't know what I was doing was codependence. I didn't know what was happening to me was codependency. I had no idea. I had no idea what was going on, but I knew something was wrong when I wasn't even able to mourn the death of my father. Now, granted, he was a motherfucker, but when someone dies who's a part of you, you still feel something. You still should be allowed to feel what you want to feel. And this is the part of grieving that really, this is where we need to give people space and grace, but we don't. We want to try to control the narrative. We want to tell people how to feel because some of us don't like to see people in pain. And some of us don't like to see people mourning people that they don't like. Some of us don't like to see people sad. And so we tell them to get over it. We tell them to move on. Don't do that. In grief, people should be allowed to feel all the feels. People should be allowed to have their moments. You know, both of my best friends lost their fathers over the last 2 years. And I could not imagine saying to them, okay, it's been a year. Okay, it's been 9 months. Don't you think you should be like over it by now? I mean, come on. I would never say that to them. They're still hurting. They're still reeling. They're still thinking of things they could have said, things they could have done. They're still grieving. Grief takes as long as it takes. There's no timeline for grief. There is no timeline for grief. But people will make you feel like you have to be at a certain step in the grief process after a few days or a few months or a few years, especially when it comes to the death of a relationship, right? Okay, well, you should be at step 3 now of the grief process. It's been a week. I mean, I've had people say to me, "Oh, you should, give it a couple of days. You'll be okay. Give it 3 days. 3 fucking days." You would never say that to somebody who's mourning the loss of a parent or a child. But for some reason, when it comes to romantic relationships, we're supposed to be fine and over it after a couple of days or a couple of weeks. That's just not true. Even when it's someone you hate and you've been wanting to get away from them for a long time, you don't just go, okay, 3 days, I'm done. Wipe your tears. Let's move on to the next. And yeah, some people do move on very quickly. That's their business. Maybe they were over it long before they ended the relationship. That happens too. People make peace with things long before they've ended. Like I made peace with my grandmother dying long before she passed away. And I got calls and texts from people saying, "Hey, don't you want to come and watch her die? Watch her take her last breath?" Listen, to me, that's fucking sick. No, I don't want to watch anybody die. I don't want to watch anyone draw their last breath. I don't want to see anybody on their deathbed. I don't want to see anyone dying. Personally, I like to remember people as they were the last time I saw them. The last time I saw my grandmother was when I took my son to her house to say goodbye because he was going away to college. And I wanted him to say goodbye to his great grandmother. And so I took him over there and she talked to us for a bit, gave my son some advice and she was fine. She looked good. She really did look good. She didn't have her teeth in now. My granny, hated wearing her teeth, okay? But she was my granny. She's I mean, this lady's direct, matter of fact. You talk about somebody who don't piss this lady off, okay? She was a very complicated woman. But when I went to college, way back in 1996, she was the one who gave me my toolkit. She gave me a toolkit, she gave me a sewing kit, and some other little things. I had a whole box of stuff from my granny that I took to college. I want to say I'm sad, but I'm already sad. I want to say I'm hurt, but I'm already hurt. Devastated, already there. Already there. I'm not in my right mind, as people would say. You know what's funny? I had once again graduated to once a month therapy sessions with my therapist. Every time I graduate to once a month, something terrible happens. And she's like, nope, got to pull you back. Nope, once a week now. I'm like, shit. I'm like, maybe if I hadn't cried so much, she would. Maybe if I hadn't said anything. But there was no way I could say nothing. I mean, she looked at me and knew, and she was one of the few people that I texted and told her what was going on, and she's been very supportive. I've had lots of supportive messages and phone calls from my friends. It's been amazing. It's been wonderful. Like, people have been so supportive, and I appreciate it so much because I I've in this moment, and when it's quiet, when it's I feel really alone. I feel alone. I know I'm not alone, but I feel it. And so when people call me and text me and they tell me that they're praying for me and thinking of me, I love that. I love that because feel I do not feel good. I don't feel good. Um, and I'm not being dramatic at all. Like, I really don't feel good. And when you have to get up every day and still function and still do the things you're supposed to do when you don't feel good, it hurts. It's painful. Getting out of bed is painful. Um, bathing, eating. I had to go to the grocery store, and I literally sat on it all day, all night until it was about 30 minutes before the store was closing. And I just said, you have to do it. You have to do it. And so I just went in and I had my daughter with me, and she was the one who did all the shopping. All I did was pay for it. She literally did everything. And I don't even know what the hell I bought, but she's happy. So, so this is about grief. What happens to you when you're grieving? And it's not that we're always grieving, it's that we're always losing things. We're always losing people. We're always losing opportunities, things. We're always losing things and people, and we're not seeing them again. We're not finding them again. But it's not like you feel this level of pain every day. Every day it gets less and less and less and less. But it's only because you are replacing the old memories and the bad memories with new ones. You're making new ones. And so your brain is able to kind of push the bad ones, the painful ones out of the way. You still remember that this thing happened, but your brain is replacing those memories with new ones and hopefully good ones. But when you're like me and you have depression and anxiety, particularly with depression, the stress of an event will trigger an episode just like that. It doesn't even wait. Like your brain automatically And then it's just like every day it's just a never ending loop of sadness, crying, not getting out of bed, not eating, and you can't concentrate. You don't really hear people when they talk. You can't really pay attention. You're not fully present. You're not aware. You're just kind of going through like you're being pushed, like somebody is pushing your back, like you're standing in line and somebody is pushing you to move the line ahead and you don't feel anything. That's that's one of the the biggest symptoms I have is that it's not that I'm crying because I feel so much. I don't feel I feel nothing. I feel nothing. I feel numb. Numb to the point that everything irritates me. Everything is irritating. Sounds, people's voices, people's presence, people it hurts. It irritates me. I don't want I don't and see and there I go feeling guilty. There I go feeling guilty. Feeling guilty for grieving, feeling guilty for being in pain, feeling guilty for even being in the situation in the first place, feeling guilty for not being even more sad, feeling guilty for being too sad. The guilt, the hopelessness that comes with it, it's all so much. And the psychological damage that has been done to my brain already because of the years of depression and anxiety that I've had, I just wonder what this is gonna do to it because I was repairing. I was repairing. I was starting to get better. I was starting to get better. I was starting to feel more enthusiasm. I was joyful. I was in a good mood. I couldn't really the negative emotions, I couldn't access them and I was happy for that. I couldn't feel them, couldn't see them. Even with little disappointments, I would bounce back within like a few hours. I would be okay. But this, all of this, the breakup, my grandmother dying, has sent me into a tailspin. I'm spinning out of control back into depression. I'm spinning out of control back into depression, and I don't want to. I hate it. I really hate it. But grief itself is, bereavement is a temporary mental, emotional disorder. It's not expected to last longer than a year or so, right? And people don't know this. They don't know that bereavement is an actual mental disorder. And so they will fight their grief because they think, I should be over this, but they're dead. They're not coming back. What am I doing? I shouldn't still be crying a year later. Well, if you're crying a year later, it's fine. If you're still sad, if you're a year later saying, wow, it feels like it was just yesterday, that is fine. It is okay. And people telling you at what step in the journey you should be at need to worry about themselves and be glad that it's not happening to them. I wouldn't wish any of this on anyone. I don't laugh at people's pain because I know what it feels like. It could be me, and it is me, and it has been me. I feel great empathy for people because I've been where a lot of people are. I've been divorced, I've been abused, I've had breakups and I've had people die and I've lost people that I am very close to. When I was a little girl, my cousin Rose passed away. She was 14. This was in 1986. She was my best friend. She was my only girl cousin, the only one I had. And she died when she was 14. That completely that triggered so much in me that I had no idea that when I was that age, I didn't know why I was feeling anxious and nervous and crying all the time and throwing up and having diarrhea, and I developed a fear of death. It was awful. I had an awful fear of death, and I was scared all the time. All the time. I would be scared to swallow food because I thought I was gonna choke and die. I would be scared to drink something because I thought I was gonna choke and die. I didn't wanna go to sleep because I thought I was not gonna wake up. And I didn't know what was going on with me. It could have been depression, it could have been a generalized anxiety disorder, it could have been a panic disorder. I certainly had panic attacks. It could have been dysthymia, which is long-term depression. It could have been anything. But nobody ever helped me deal with it. There was no therapy that I was taken to. There was nobody to talk to. I just had to deal with these things, all of this psychological anguish and pain. And it wasn't until I got older that I finally was able to deal with it, that I was able to deal with the grief and the anguish and the pain and the loss. Was finally able to deal with it. And you should not have to do that. You should not be in your 40s finally dealing with things that happened to you in your childhood. Parents should be better than that. We should be better than that. We should make sure that when something traumatizing happens to our children, that they are allowed to process it, to talk about it, to deal with it. We don't tell a person, you don't tell a person you need to just get over it, or that they're overreacting, or that they're being dramatic. Or there are people who experience loss who absolutely on the outside seem completely okay. Like they're able to get up and go to work and smile and laugh, and people will say, "That's unusual. That's not normal. Why aren't you like pulling out your hair and gnashing your teeth and bawling your eyes out? You're on a vacation in Hawaii." People grieve how they grieve. Everyone processes loss differently. Everyone does. It is not for you to say how someone should handle a loss. It is not for anyone to say how another person should handle a loss. It could be the loss of a pet. A lot of people treat their pets like they're, children or siblings. And when that pet is gone, they are sad. They are very sad. And it's hard for them to get over it. We shouldn't be telling these people, "Oh, come on. It was just a dog. It's just a frickin' cat. Come on now." No, it was important to them. That's the other thing. The thing that we lost, it probably was important to us. Very important. People lose a job. That's important. That's your stream of income. That feeds your family. That keeps you afloat. Keeps you in your apartment or your house. So when you lose a job, it's not like, "Oh, just go back out there and apply for jobs and you'll find something. It'll be okay." I hate it when people say everything's going to be okay. First of all, you don't know that because life is uncertain. And number two, in the moment where you're really reeling from grief, you cannot see that everything will be okay. You don't want to hear it because everything will be okay suggests that I should just get over this immediately. That everything's going to be okay says to me, girl, please get over it, move on. Don't say that to people. Do not do that to people, especially people you love. Don't tell somebody to just get over it. Everything's going to be okay. Well, maybe it is and maybe it's not. How the fuck would any of us know? It could get worse. It absolutely could get worse. How do you know that everything is going to be okay? Someone give you the secret codes to unlock the okays. We are handling grief and loss wrong. And by we, I mean the people who don't have to deal with it and the people who don't deal with it. We are handling these things wrong. We're not using empathy. We're not being sympathetic. We're not giving people the space to grieve. We're not allowing people to feel all the feels. And then ourselves, we are not feeling everything that we need to feel. We're not talking about it. We're not processing it. We're not accepting what happened, some of us. But mostly, we're just letting it sit with us. We're just letting it sit on our brain. It gets heavy day after day after day after day. And so when there's an important date, like the date that the person died or the date that the person was buried or whatever, you remember that and you're triggered again because you never really dealt with it anyway. So the closer it gets to that date, you're dreading it. You don't want to see that day. You don't want to deal with that day. You don't want to do anything. You're kind of paralyzed by it, really. And so dealing with bereavement, dealing with loss is something that we all should be doing. And I know people I don't I don't know why. It's silly to me that people are afraid to go to therapy. People are afraid to talk to a therapist. As many therapists as there are in the country of the United States, people are still so afraid. As you know, in vogue as it was during the pandemic and how it has been lately, there are people who are still afraid. They won't make time for it. They won't make space for it. They think it's useless. They don't care. They give up. They don't want to be bothered. Listen, therapy has saved my life. Talk therapy has saved my fucking life. Because there's no way I was going to deal with all of this pain and anguish and loss and grief and still be here. And still be here able to do this podcast, be able to do anything. There was no way. I needed therapy. I needed to process everything. I needed to put everything in perspective. I needed to understand what was going on and what I could do about it. I needed to put a name on what I was experiencing so that I could tackle it because I did not want to be in pain anymore. I wanted the pain to be gone. I wanted it to be over. And therapy is the thing that helped me deal with that. And every time I'm experiencing something, I have this person I can go to talk things out, to help me rationalize. Because when someone when they're grieving, when they've experienced a loss, the brain becomes disorganized and disordered, and you do crazy things. You cut your hair, you crash your car, it just you're not supposed to make any major decisions while you're in the grieving process. And a lot of us do because we don't have something stopping us. We don't know how to stop ourselves. And that's what therapy does for me. It helps me to know how to put up a stop sign. That's how I was able to deal with the PTSD from my childhood traumas, how I learned to put up the stop sign. Those memories were invading my life every single day. I could be doing laundry, I could be working, and those memories would immediately pop into my head and I'd start crying and I couldn't move, couldn't think. Therapy helped me learn how to put up the stop sign to them and to replace these thoughts with other thoughts. But people are afraid to talk to someone. I mean, I don't get it, because talking is the only way you're going to get through it. Not over it, through it. Because really there is no getting over. The only way is through. The only way is through. That's it. That's the only way, is through. And that's what therapy does for you. It helps you get through what you're experiencing, the mental anguish, the emotional pain. Maybe you need help controlling your eating, or your kid is having trouble in school. Maybe they're being bullied, or maybe they're the bully. Therapy, talking to people, talking to someone. You can even go to group therapy if individual therapy is not your jam. There are also people who are in such mental anguish that they have to be in a hospital. Again, no shame. No shame. At least not from me. You're not going to get any shame from me, honey. Nothing but understanding. I get it. There are also partial hospitalization programs where you check out during the day so you can go to work or go to school or whatever, and then you check back in at night and you go to therapy. You have group therapy, you have individual therapy, they monitor your medication, et cetera, et cetera. There are lots of treatments, but you have to do something. You do. You actually have to do something. And I'm not one who likes to tell people what to do. I like to give suggestions because ultimately people are going to do whatever they want. But I'm telling you that you have to deal with your grief, or it's going to, as they famously say, deal with you. It is. I have to deal with the losses that I'm experiencing, but I have to do it in my own way, on my timeline, and in the space that makes me feel the most comfortable. There are people who want me to be publicly expressive with the loss of my grandmother. You want to come over and you want to sit and talk and cry, and no, I don't do that. I don't do that. I deal with things on my own in a way that is most comfortable for me, not just in my own way, but in a way that is most comfortable for me. And it would be great if people respected that. But of course, people being who they are, they want everything their way. They want to see you grieve in a way that is comfortable for them, in a way that makes sense to them. They want to see you cry. They want to, oh, well, you must not care if you're not crying, if you're not. Listen, my body produces about 50 gallons of tears a day lately. I am crying. I am sad. But I don't need to show you that for you to know that I am. I don't lie. I mean, I'm sitting here telling the whole world, if the whole world listened to my podcast, about my past. I'm sharing this thing with the whole world, not lying about any of it. I'm being very real and I'm being direct because I want to be understood. I don't want people to think I'm being vague about anything. I want to be understood. I want people to know that I'm human and that I'm real, and it's okay for them to be human and real and to feel these really awful emotions, the sadness, the anger, the disappointment, the fear. You don't know what you're going to do next. You don't know what you're going to do now. You don't know how are you going to proceed? What's going to happen to you? You feel lost. When you lose someone that you were close to, someone you love, someone you're related to, like a sibling, a child, a spouse, grandparent, an aunt who you were close to, you feel lost, right? You feel lost and you don't know how to proceed once they're gone. You have to figure out how to proceed again, how to move again, how to live again, how to thrive again. You have to reprogram your your life, your schedule, your brain to not include them. But you don't have to program it to forget them. There are probably all these great memories that I have with my grandmother, and I can still remember those. And there are all these great memories that I have with my partner. I mean, it doesn't matter that maybe some of it was just a bunch of bullshit, but I still felt good. I felt good. I was having a good time. And when I tell you it's been years since I have felt that with a person, with a man, believe me, it has been. I was glowing and I was happy and but there's this loss. There's this pain, there's this disappointment, there's anger. I certainly feel a lot of anger, but I also feel a lot of sadness. Life is going on and people are falling away. And nothing lasts forever. We know this. We know nothing lasts forever. And we know that we don't belong to each other. We know who we belong to ultimately. If you're religious like me, you know who you belong to. You belong to your creator. But that still doesn't take the pain away. I'm not an expert in grief. I am an expert in loss. So I know about losing. I know how to lose. And what I can tell you about losing is that it still hurts when you're on your 30th loss. It may as well be your first time losing. And this has been Ayana Explains It All, brought to you by facts, figures, and enlightenment. Take care.